anyone who has cards, make sure we have it. Start reading off these cards. Okay. Yeah, 2 minutes to respond. Again, that's our timekeeper over there. So I'm ready to 5 or 7. All right. I'm just going to read this card. We are, Mr. Henry, when are we going to stop the postal children? Still no street lights 7 years later, no Cleveland, Florida answer. What guarantee could you give me if you were in that district that this will be taken care of? We are tired of groundbreakings and we are going to, when are we going to make this happen? Senior Citizen Center, fire station, and light reduction in this area. 2 minutes.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to talk fast, but I'm trying to be as direct as possible. First thing, I do not get excited over groundbreakings. People have groundbreakings all the time. I get excited when there's a ribbon cutting. And unfortunately, we have not had enough ribbon cuttings in District 2. I think one of the things that we need to do first is organize, like Community Voices organized in District E. There's an organization happening in New Orleans East, and I think there's an organization happening in Carpenter's Island. But the first thing that I want to do is organize additional neighborhood associations in the lower ninth ward. Because I think the approach right now is the mayor is trying to set the pace and redirect the city from the top down. I think we need to do it from the ground up. Organize a neighborhood association in District E. New Orleans East, Lower Ninth Ward, Carpenter's Island. Get them incorporated, get a board, get a secretary, and get organization agendas so everybody can be on the same page. These organizations to partner with organizations in the rest of District E. Because there's strength in numbers. And the only thing that City Hall understands is, and my colleagues on the council understand this, where are the numbers? Where are the votes? Where are the people? Because that's the motivation for getting things done right now in the city. Service is not the motivation right now, ladies and gentlemen. Serving the community is not the motivation right now. And that's something I want to bring back. The motivation of the city of New Orleans, as I stand before you today, is political motivations and decisions that we have to bear as citizens in this district. And I'm going to change that. Organization of numbers and votes collectively moving in the same direction with 4 parts of the district. Neighborhoods, businesses, schools, churches. Neighborhoods, businesses, schools, churches. We get all 4 of those organized, moving in the same direction, and there's not a politician off Diego Street that's not going to listen to us. And that is what we need to do. And that's what I'll do as your city council. Nothing less. I'm not interested in making friends, ladies and gentlemen. I want to make progress. I'll do my job. I don't have to come and ask you for my vote in 2 years because you're going to vote to my vote.
If you're asking me for a date, I can't give it. But here's what I will say to you. I'm going to work very hard, and I say there are a couple priorities in this whole thing. We have to get a hospital, and we are going to get a hospital. I've talked to both the mayor and to the hospital board. The hospital is not going to be in the lower 9, but there is going to be a hospital in the east. It is going to happen. There will be a ribbon cut in December of next year. It will be an 80-bed hospital. I'm going to work hard to make sure it happens on schedule, on task. There are some other projects that are not, well, you have the Walmart that's going to happen. You have the shopping center that's going to be in Six Flags that's going to happen. There was and you asked about lights, but one thing is true. I'm going to be there banging the table and trying to get it done no matter what the rest of us do. However, when I bang the table, it's going to make a lot more noise depending on how you show in the election. Now, we can organize community groups and y'all do that, but and my opponent is right. Politicians are going to look at the number of votes cast in November. And if you won't allow voice, your time to shout as a citizen is when it's time to vote. Now, whether you shout loud or not, I think I'm going to be the congressman, the councilman, and I'm going to be shouting anyway because I've done it all my life, even for people who weren't making noise for themselves. But you need to make that noise. And incidentally, 30 years ago, I was the attorney for the Lower 9 Housing Development Corporation, many times without pay. I was also the attorney for the Desire Community Housing Corporation, many times without pay. I've been dedicated and worked hard when I wasn't getting paid, when it wasn't my job. I will continue to do that. Thank you.
I say fire, terminate the contracts. Right now we have people that have contracts that's supposed to keep the lights fixed, that's supposed to answer the phone calls, and when you try to get them on the phone, they don't answer. I say call 658-1050 when I get in the office, so I can let you know when the next public works meeting is, so we can get together and take care of what needs to be taken care of. Because right now we have too many friendships that's going on. Because if it was anywhere else, they would have had some heads rolling on the shopping block. Right now, we are experiencing the lack of, leadership. Because if we had leadership, we'd have Brandon every week trying to find out why we have grass taller than me. Which I in the Lord, why we don't have infrastructure, why we don't have what we need in the area. I don't want to talk about what we're going to do next term. We can talk about this right now because you have to know in order to do. I have 7 years city council experience. I have worked for 2 city council persons, and my ideas and my experience can take us a long way. Right now, what we need to do in order to make ourselves whole is to find out when I say come to the meeting, make the noise, come to the meeting and make the noise. Don't wait until budget pass and then we say what we're going to do the next time around. All of this is put in place right now. I don't want to get elected in December for a runoff. Put me in on November the 6th so I can deal with the budget and we can make sure when they sit at the table and say, Councilmember Sanders, this is what I need the money for. I'm going to look at him and say, what have you done for us lately?
I think one of the most powerful things that we need is that we need a person that is firm, that is clearly committed to us, that has produced. When I hear the other candidates talk about what it is they would like to do, what might work, I've spent the last 20 years as an organizer working for you and I know what works. When I see grass that is too tall, I organize to have it cut, but I also organize to hold accountable those that have the funds that deny us of our fair share of funding for our community. I hold them accountable. When we look and we think we have no police station, we have blighted homes in which our daughters are being raped, I don't sit in City Hall. I would not be sitting there dressed in the air conditioning, wondering how to make a change. Anyone that knows me knows that I am a hands-on, steel-toe boot-wearing type of woman that is not afraid of getting on the street and working with my neighbors to create change. We must understand that many other communities that have success, they have it because they demonstrate power. I've spent the last 20 years organizing and teaching citizens how to demonstrate power. When we look at Lakeview and Broadmoor and we wonder why they're getting their fair share and some of ours, it's because at appropriate times they come out. I will be your council person, but I am by no means the absolute authority. I will need you when I enter that seat to be there with me on certain days on certain issues. Thank you.
For far too long, we've had go along to get along. Council people go along to get along. Y'all know how many councilmen they got? 7. Always vote 7 and 0. 7 and 0. That's always the vote. You ain't gonna have that from me. You know, because the problem that we have is I'm not in it to go along to get along. If it takes challenging the mayor, I am going to do that. If it takes challenging any of the other council people, I am going to do that. We got about 6,000 people in the Lower 9. We got about 68,000 people in New Orleans East. The biggest problem, going back to Vanessa's question, is the biggest issue is everything on the east side of the industrial canal is looked at as a second-class citizen. is just like everybody else. We deserve the very best like everybody else. And folks, we ain't getting it. We ain't getting it. I know that's not good English or proper English, but it ain't happening. I mean, take a look around when you drive out here the street on the full condition. We just had a police cadet class that just graduated. How many of those police officers came to the 5th district and were allocated to this specific area? It ain't happening because we have had weak leadership at the city council. I am not going to be that go along to get along kind of guy. I'm going to be a strong leader, just like I have been in my last 8.5 years in the legislature, wanting to bring that back. Because we have to have a full-service hospital in New Orleans. We have to have major health care in the lower 9 community. And it's not only just a little fly-by-night clinic. We got to have major health care. That is something that I am going to be an advocate for, as well as rebuilding these schools. A 500 student waiting list at MLK is absurd. We need to build more schools in the lower 9 community.
This is a question that our organization posed. Well, let's start with Mr. Beddock. We'll go back. The Sewage and Water Board is asking for a rate increase to overhaul our water system after receiving millions from FEMA. This rate will be on the back of residents, mainly low to moderate income residents. Would you vote against the water rate increase? Water rates are unequal in New Orleans. They have been set so that industry and hotels pay less per gallon than residents and small businesses.
I will vote against a water rate increase. I have spoken out against a water rate increase. When are we going to get an increase, folks? Everything is going up. Every time government can't make its needs met, what do? We make y'all pay for it. That's what government does. That has to stop. That can't go on. Sewage and Water Board is trying to come up with a rate increase because they're losing water on a daily basis. They're giving away free water, okay? And what they want to do, make us pay for it. Like I told you before, I take care of my 92-year-old. She just got a cold. Y'all know what that is, cost of living adjustment? She just got that, okay? Hasn't got that for 3 years. Now, she gets that, and then the Sewage and Water Board wants to come up with a rate increase. Now, you know what I'm saying? She's now back in a hole again. And I know many of you are in the same situation. Our senior citizens cannot afford that. When are the people of New Orleans going to get a return on their investment? Sewage and Water Board has to do things a better way. Public Works cannot go fix a street and Sewage and Water Board will come right back up and tear it up. They can't do that. City Hall has got to make these departments work better. One thing I'm going to be pushing for is to try to corral Sewage and Water Board into more of a city department so it's not out there by itself. It has to work better with the Department of Public Works because one is doing one thing, another one is doing another thing, and they're not communicating with each other. As your councilman, I'm going to bring them to that oak table in front of the dais and make them work together and communicate with each other. And I'm not going to support a rate increase.
I would not support any rate increase without understanding fully how the money is being spent. I would demand transparency. I would demand that they're very clear as to how their budget has been spent over the years and how a possible rate increase would be spent. No one in this room has the type of money in their checkbook that they simply spend without knowing where their money is going. The same thing will apply to a Sewage and Water Board and to the city. We have to understand that, as Austin said, and the communications has not been there. Now, Austin has been in service for the last 8 years. But what I do know, being an organizer for the last 20 years, is that there has to be a chain of accountability, citywide, that's locally, statewide, as well as federally. Okay? And so when we talk about what needs to be done in the city, we have to understand that many things that happen in the city don't just start in the city, it flows from the federal ears. As I said, I am your neighbor. No one has to escort me into the Ninth Ward or into New Orleans East because I not only live here, I thrive here, I'm raising my family here. So I would handle their checkbook just as I would handle my own. I would want to understand where every penny is being spent before I voted on any increase or anything. Because if anything we have here, we have a history of mismanaging our funds. We know that the general funds are black holes. So getting control of the money, understanding the monies that's been allocated, where it's going, where it's line item to, is extremely important. We cannot allow buzzwords to make us get so excited that we do not understand that if you have been in service for 8 years and you're still struggling with these things on the ground level, then we have a problem. I'm not a career politician, I am a career servant.
I am totally against any tax increases, period. I want you to remember being in this room tonight, but as we stand before you, asking for your vote, asking for your support, saying, I promise I will not raise taxes. Because the first tax that was raised when we just elected this last city council raised for sewage and water board, and I could have passed out because I didn't understand why we were going up on those taxes. What I do need to say also is because people came out, they testified, they asked for support, they asked that their leaders support the fact that we didn't have enough of, so the fact that they were trying to increase taxes, it should have been out the door, but it still was 7-zip. So understand, you won't be able to be at every council meeting, you won't be able to be at every meeting at City Hall, but when you elect the next city council person, make sure you elect somebody that if you turn your back, your business is going to be taken care of. Because see, when y'all don't show up, they do anything. They act like that Channel 6 don't work. We can see what the vote is, and it was 7-zip then. I stand tall and firm today because my plan is the people's plan. I am not for sewage and water board taxes. I'm not for the beautification taxes. I'm not for anything. I'm for making what we already paid for work for us. We pay enough right now and we don't have any services, and I want to know why. I want to know why we got Sugar Bowl, Super Bowl, every bowl downtown, but we can't get any services to our district. Our district goes far beyond the Lower Ninth Ward and New Orleans East. We go to Venetian Isle and we go out to those parishes that are not protected by the levees. We have to make sure that we all on one accord. Watch what's happening when you turn your back, voters.
I haven't studied the numbers, so I can't give you a fair answer. I can give you the answer I know you would cheer for, but if you really want a realistic answer, the answer is I would have to study the numbers and see whether or not it's justified. I haven't done that, so I don't know the answer. I do know this is a general principle, though. It's a bad thing to have, but the kinds of things like a rate increase there, where it's just set the same for every household across the board. We may well need taxes in this city. There's a lot of needs in this city. We need to be realistic. You have to pay for those needs with money. But the question is how you get the money and how you bring it in. And the money shouldn't come in a flat rate where every household does the same thing. It should be based on the ability to pay where it's necessary. And while it might be great to stand up here and give a pep talk that everyone walked out and say that was really a good talk, the reality of what we're talking about is a complicated system of development an area that, incidentally, just to let you know, New Orleans has over 600,000 people in 1960. New Orleans has been on the decline since that time. Katrina just sort of accelerated things, but we were on a downward slide since 1960. The question is, how do we reverse that slide? I think it's possible to do. I think we hire, and that's what we're doing. If you get competent, smart people who can study the issues, who can sit and negotiate with the corporate executives and with all the people. And yes, it's negotiating. Because you can holler and scream, but if you can't sit there and get a majority vote, you waste your time. You may get cheers at a pep rally. But the question is whether or not you can get something done in a business session. I'm the best person for that. Thank you.
I would not support an increase by the Sewage and Water Board, not because it's not needed. Okay, let's understand that. It is needed. I would not support an increase in the Sewage and Water Board fees right now because the Sewage and Water Board is not proven to us that it is spending the money that we give them efficiently. Until the Sewage and Water Board proves to us as citizens that the money we pay them currently is being maximized to our benefit, I will not support a Sewage and Water Board increase. Okay? Now there's certain things I can do as a council member. We can request that the Sewage and Water Board come before the council to explain to us in a detailed budget summary how the money is being spent, so that we can all see where it's being spent. Is it payroll? Is it benefits? Is it vacation? Is it equipment? We have to understand where the money is being spent, because right now it appears that it's just not being spent the way it needs to be spent, so now they're coming before us for an increase. So that is my answer to that. I believe it's a system of you make the best of what you have. As a kid, if my mom gave me $1 and I said, well, Mom, that's not enough. What she said, you better make it enough. Figure out a way to get what you need, what you have. That's where we are right now. And everybody across the city wants an increase for this and an increase for that. Some increases are needed. There are certain services that as citizens we just not going to get from the government. So we may have to pay a little extra. But Sewage and Water Board represents a huge chunk of the budget of the city of New Orleans. And we have to make sure that they are spending the money we give them now wisely. And right now, in my opinion, they are not doing it. So I would not support the rate increase at this point until they show us that the money that we are paying them is being used sufficiently.
All right, thank you. All right, I'm going to ask you that we cut this down to a minute on these questions. You know, a lady that has to be, these are her questions. She wants to know what you would do about trucks tearing our houses, traveling to and from the lower There's some designated truck routes in this area, and they're not being used with ATVs traveling to and from the neighborhood. She wants to know what can be done about handicap sidewalks on streets between North Craven and Florida Avenue. And she's asking about street lighting. You know, again, we still have a lot of lighting issues in this area. So I'm going to start with Mr. Verdon, and we're going to go for a minute on this, because this game has to be, this will has to be. Mr. Verdon.
The truck route issue is a major issue that we're dealing with in New Orleans East as well on Bullitt. One of the main things that I would do as your councilman is address that by looking at the ordinances that are already in place, and if those ordinances are not sufficient, enact new ordinances. But the main thing about any ordinance is enforcement. I can go and enact any type of new legislation, but it has to be enforced. So that's something that I would promise to you. Huh?
1 minute. She cut it down to a minute. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was it?
That was it.
Okay, I understand. In reference to the truck route issue, I live on Capitol Street. My home is being shaken off of its foundation. We've stood out and we physically slowed these trucks down. I would ask that they take a look at if not changing the route, enforcing the speed. There's signs there, but they're coming down Capitol Street in third gear, wide open. In reference to the lights, I know that there's a problem around who has the contracts for the lights and how quickly they reinstall lights. And that would be something that we would have to explore. As in reference to the ADA or the handicap accessibility, I noticed that on the main thoroughfares, they're working to make it possible. We would have it spread out in the community.
And the same thing, as far as the trucks that are speeding through the communities, you can work with the police department to make sure that they're doing what their job is. If you notice anybody speeding in your neighborhood, take down the license plate number. You can give it to your neighborhood association person, or you can call me at 508-5844, and we're gonna make sure that we take care of that, because that's definitely something we can do right now as community. As far as the handicap signs, all we have to do is turn in a letter to Public Works, and also to make sure that we have the signs that are put up. The lights, I already said, turn them on and fire the company that got the contract right now, because they're not doing their job.
This is one we probably all agree. We have to have enforcement. We don't need new laws. There are ADA laws also that say we have to have those handicap cuts, and that's federal law. We need demand enforcement, and at the local level, we need demand enforcement about the truck routes and the speeds, and the buses, and at the federal level, enforce the federal law, and if they don't do it voluntarily, there are other means, and I'm not going to be elected to a federal post, so I can't go tell the federal government what to do, but you can sue them, and we can encourage them, we can help in that. In fact, I think one of the things I'm just a city councilman is to help organize a couple of lawsuits, maybe one about the schools, to get our property back. And finally, any person contracting with the city who's not doing their job, we need to identify, we need to complain, and I will, without regard to campaign contributions or anything else, we have to make people do what they're getting paid for. And I will work at that all the time. Thank you.
Regarding the trucks going down Catherine Avenue, there's two things that come to mind that I would use as a resource as a city council member. One is I would identify the truck companies that are the biggest violators and force them to sign a good neighborhood agreement. It's being used, doesn't sound effective, it's being used in Lakeview. It's a binding contract with the community in that organization. If they violate it, we do have grounds to bring them to court to enforce it. The second thing I would do regarding the trucking companies is make sure that the quality of life officer in the district police station is dispatched to that area where these violations are occurring. The quality of life officer has the leverage and ability to investigate nonviolent crimes, and I think that's one resource that we can use. Regarding the handicap cutouts and the sidewalk, the American Disabilities Act requires that the city, in fact, have public rights of way, have access to physically challenged individuals. As a council member, I will make sure that there's money in the budget in District 8, specifically the Lord 9th budget, to make sure that those cutouts are created. If it's an issue of contracting, we can do it in a design build format where the same company that designs it builds it to save us some time. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you. Okay.